pair approached the furnace solemnly and crouched down to look carefully at what clues they could find. There's a lump of metal here. Oh, I know what that is. You remember that key? It's in her sleeve. The one for her office. Yes, when I look closely, I think I can see a little shape of it left. Barely, but it's enough to tell for certain that it's her office key. When we're done here, we should check up in her office. Is that a pile of soot? Why is it so far away from the furnace? Harold knelt down to get a closer look, reaching out to touch it. Ow! He recoiled, fingers stinging. Was it sharp? Harry, are you listening to me? Hand me that notebook. I feel like I have to write right now. Faraday handed him the notebook and Harry immediately set to scribble. What are you doing? With a hand to his temple. Oh, thank you for that. He took his head, clearing it out. Are you all right? Yes, I'm fine. Was that a stray imp? Half right. I believe that was Belle's imp. I should have recognized it. Creative imps usually do have spikes or spines of some kind. They push their users to keep working. Different people are motivated by different things. Some people write out of a fierce desire to change the world. Some draft out of spite, which always ends up poisoning the user. But it looks like Belle's sense of self-worth was tied to her writing. An imp with this many spines likely stinging her constantly, encouraging her to write. Something like that would be pretty useful for getting research papers done. It really isn't the worst sort of imp to have, but just like of any imp, if it got bigger. I'll get to it then. We'll seal it up back at home. Put it with the others, Drace. Faraday tried to locate it, but it was already gone. Oh, it got away. Well, it's someone else's headache now. It's some kind of small piece of fabric, but it doesn't match anything Belle was wearing. I guess we can find it where it came from. We might know more. Really. Body. Faraday stood back as Harold inspected the body. Are we sure that it's Belle? Maybe it's a different body? Or a fake or something? Decency forbids I give any details, but I can confirm that this corpse is, without question, Miss Bernadette Belle. Decency? This is a murder investigation. Get in there and really look. Harold glanced at Faraday. Would you care to do the honors? Faraday stepped forward, but the lingering smell of burning hair was too much for him. I can't. It would be better emotionally if she had been charred beyond recognition. But yes, I can tell that it's still her. He went pale and finally turned away from the grisly sight. Do you understand? Our combined skill set is not the same as an investigator or consulting a detective. We can still observe and deduce, but we'll have to do so without the post-mortem. Could we at least move her out of there? We can. She would. He clenched his teeth and waited for the anger to abate. Then he continued. We cannot move her. She would fall apart if we attempted to. Faraday gave the ground a helpless kick. All we can do is keep the furnace off and hope the authorities can find something we can't. You know, this is the same way Canterbury died. There's no way this isn't unrelated. It's highly suspicious, but it could merely be a coincidence. Or maybe it's somewhat likely that two friends who both worked at the same place and were killed in the same manner have the same killer. Wow, brilliant. What a bold claim. You really aren't a detective, are you? Is this the dinner cart? Why would it be down here? Something is different about it. Doesn't have food on it. Wheeled her down here? Everything looks better when it has food on it. Do you think I'd look better if I wore a fruit hat? What? Nothing, just a thought. I think that everything of relevance. I can't find anything else either. Let's lay out what makes sense. It would make the most sense if the murderer knew the layout of the house, because they would need to know about the boil room. It's hard to tell who might have been here before us for sure, or who might have arrived early, or snuck away to get a good look at the house. Looking at this fabric again, Faraday held up the small piece of ivy-colored fabric. I feel like I recognize it. You should. We saw it at dinner. It was the cloth that was on the dinner cart. I remember because I thought it was tastefully in season. There's been a movement toward more plant-based decoration lately. Very in vogue. What does that even mean? Doesn't matter. What does matter is the cloth is burned up, which means someone chose to burn it. Why would they do that? I would assume that the person who burned it also burned Belle. So it might have had evidence on it. That makes sense. Well, that would mean it's Miss Butler, Lady Vance. Well, let's get moving. We won't solve anything sitting around here. Is it not going to let me stop, please? Faraday held up the notebook and gave it a little wiggle. I'll start a to-do list. Harold raised an eyebrow. It's blank. Well, I won't know what we're going to do until we ask around first. Why doesn't asking around count as something to do? If I have to be awake to do it, it counts as doing something. Quit complaining and pick a room. Where to go? I believe... Where were we all standing, anyway? Here, probably. So, it's actually been about 5 days. So, here's some theories. Huh? Okay. She's dead indeed. Him? It's probably not him, because he doesn't have an imp. I've got an imp theory, and it's only because they exist that they're probably the culprit. Her? Probably not. Her? Maybe if her demon was strong enough. This guy could have been manipulated by, Mr. Army. Her? Well, she clearly transported the body, unknowingly, because I think there were 2 screams. 2 screams, one, and then her, because she was wheeling that cart with the tarp around. And she was in the boiler room, first to discover. Very suspicious. Him? He's got to do something, but what did they call these things? His imp might have been controlling him. Oh, that's it. And we saw here, his eyes, Mr. Glass's eyes, have something to do with this. Oh, there's something to do with demon suppression. So if we just look at their eyes... and then investigate her office. When Faraday attempted to open the door to Belle's office, it wouldn't budge. Damn, she locked it. Well, we did find the key with Belle's body, but it was melted. We need to find another way in. So there is something important in there. Is there another way in? Possibly through the kitchen, or through the music room. It looks like it's upstairs, so... Well, that's a staircase, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Okay, so it's what? Direct... Let's see, that's roughly below here. This is above here. Maybe the music room. It's a high organ. Look, second floor. Look, door. Oh, that is a door. Oh, They found Deleuze in the music room. At the north wall was a massive pipe organ. That is the wrong door. That's probably just for the organ. I don't know how organs work, but isn't the piano part down here? Go away. I'm looking for snacks. Why in here do you think that you're in? I know where I am. I'm in a room with a massive pipe organ. I've got a better look around than either of you did. I bet you didn't even know there was a music room here, let alone a massive pipe organ. No, I suppose not. Just answer a few questions for us, please. Ooh, questions. Can't believe it. Still got a cough, though. Sorry. Where were you? I mean, outside the room, but... Seems like you'd solve this easily just by summoning her ghost and asking her. I actually, funny story about that. So that whole seance thing was a heavy load. You've got to give it to him. It sounded pretty convincing. I can't want you to tell people you're a total fraud. Harold balked and prepared to apologize. Faraday cut him off. Didn't your very rich father die under very questionable circumstances? And your... hang on. And you that is design, right? It's not Dane? There's an S in there. And you designed to sell so many ships now. Oh, it's and. I can't read. That seems kind of lucky for you. Maybe Harry decides for his next trick he's gonna summon the ghost of your father to talk about who might have killed him. This threat was barely veiled, especially since we have zero evidence. But instead of getting upset, it seemed to excite Deleuze. Oh, but you already said that you can't summon ghosts. Why would people believe his lie over mine? Harold noted her reaction and smirked. It doesn't matter. It was a whiff of a scandal. Someone's going to come looking for it. Maybe I'd be laughed out of society again. But the press would learn for your dirty little secret and take you down with me, Deleuze. Deleuze laughed, chipper. Point taken. It looks like I can't win against a very legitimate seance doer. Anyway, I was upstairs when the murder took place. All by myself. Very convincing. Why don't you tell the truth? All by myself. Okay. Okay. Well, as we as we think, she was with she was with Faye, dude. With his cigarette and his fire. Probably doing whatever. Upstairs. Upstairs is the office. We didn't go downstairs to get in here, did we? I don't think this door was opened when we were sealing the manor. And there are no windows or other exits. Locks aren't usually a problem for me. Makes you a bit suspicious in my book. Look, Belle was promising to put my ship design into her next book. It was even going to be the setting for the whole story. I had the opposite of a motive, but it would have been a story about murder. Who would want to buy a boat with a murder on it? Fictional murders are classy and fun. People aren't usually bothered about the context. Just hearing the name would get them interested. Exactly. Glad you're catching on, Ludicule. I would have had a design featuring heavily in the mystery. It would have sold even more than I already do. People could come for tours. Her being dead is bad for business, simple as that. And you know, she was kinda a nice person. If you suspect anyone, look to my human barnacle, Merrick. He always liked to screw things up for people. And if it's me who's involved, even more so. So maybe he was up here. Or no, he went to them. Because if they were playing with fire and he can control people, maybe he just made the fire bigger. Doesn't sound very convincing unless everybody is lying to us. But still. I did hear something when the lights went out. A lot of people were moving when they started panicking, but Goose moved over and opened the case. I could hear the whole thing. Can you be sure of that? Goose was standing next to Myers and me during the seance. I heard Myers say that someone let go of her hand, and I could even tell when Goose let go of my hand. I know that because I am me. So, Goose was on the loose. Then, someone with a heavy step ran over to the back of the room, and the cabinet door opened. Goose has a really heavy step. Big folks like that usually do. Merrick has a heavy step too. But he's got those awful metal custom shoes, so he sounds different when he walks. Deleuze shrugged. You could hear all that, even with the commotion the others were making. If there's shenanigans going on, you couldn't tear me away. That does make sense. She's blind. I would assume your hearing went up. Well, I would assume you're training your hearing to go up. How long has she been blind? And what is that guy's, Merrick's imp? Have eyes on it. I'm sure it's not a coincidence, but I'm sure it's not her eyes. What did I say? Something about him sabotaging. Yeah, he sabotaged business deals of mine before. This project with Bell would have meant maybe even getting international attention. He would have been furious if I got more opportunities. I'm already out of his league, and he's only getting farther behind. So it's not a shock that he would try to cheat to catch up. You think he'd really take it this far? Absolutely. I won't lie and say that I'll be disappointed if it was his doing. We need your help, because you're the best character. Everyone seems to. Please. Well, I guess I don't have a lot to do at the moment, and you two are too chummy to have committed any murders. Thank you. Just don't get your demon out or whatever. I heard that it melted a guy's wife's hand off. In a jar of acid. At a party. That's a new one. You said that you can break locks. My imp won't let me get locked into any place. So technically, sure. If I can frame it right. Amazing. We have a way to get into the room. Dea's imp looked like a large metal key. It scampered free of her pocket, tears rolling down its handle. It's a skeleton key. Wait, wouldn't that mean criminals have a much easier time committing crimes? Despite its small size, the door pushed smoothly open. The imp muttered through tears as it pushed. Let me out. Let me out. Who's in there? Are you okay? Why wouldn't I be? It just does that. Like I said, imps are weird. What they say doesn't mean anything. Why, thank you, Miss Deleuze. That's all you needed? Then I'm off. Snack Sarah Collin. Harold and Faraday entered the office and saw what clearly constituted a murder scene. How did she even get in here? Well, she did actually go here. First. So this is where she would have been before she died. Wasn't she looking for something? She was looking for something. Oh my god. Nope. I cannot tell. Scorch marks on the carpet. Upstairs. This is where they were, of course. And a mess of papers that were not scattered on their previous visit to the room. There were several cabinets that were open, and the mess made it difficult to know where to look first. Shit. This place is a mess. There's no real way of knowing what objects would be relevant. Unless you could have a look around. Why me? My sight's better than Deleuze's, but not by much, no. Use, I don't want to do that here. You said I had to do this. For Belle. I even let Maggie out for this. He winced and slapped the side of his forehead. Shut up! If Holly wants to play at an inspector, he's got to make sacrifices too. Don't cuddle him. He took a breath and regained his composure. So, Holly, can't you do this? At least to solve her murder. Fine. Stand back. Or go in the hallway or something. Sure. Faraday took a deep breath and took off his glasses. Whoa. Mystery man. Belle's script for the play. It burned up with her. Almost none of it is left. Ah, it sucks. It's not salvageable. What if you climbed that and fell backwards and just broke your head open? This part of the script, too. Hours and hours. All ashes. I wonder if it'll ever get made because of this. What will happen if it's gone forever? Almost nothing left on top except for a few pens and blue ink stains. Will the next person who owns this desk even know who Belle was? Imagine just running at the glass and trying to jump out. Harry's seal would push me back. He would save me without even knowing. Oh. It's pulled open and something is missing. Something that belongs here is gone. I won't be able to find it if it's not in this room. What if that's the whole reason she was murdered? Is that everything? There's a burn mark on the ground and one on the ceiling. She died right here and nobody heard it. Did she just combust? Could I burn up like that? Could Harry? What if the killer comes after us next? Another page of this script. What a waste. Death is so senseless. People are gone so fast. You piece of shit. How many times have you run away? You could have done something with your life. You are the most pathetic loser. A man with no impact might as well have never existed. Belle wrote thousands of words more than you ever will. And now she's dead, and her work will outlive her. What work could you have done? You don't matter. Nothing matters. Nothing you ever do will be worth anyone to anyone. At least Harry has done something. You're too broken to finish a single thing. He's too good for you. When you die, not a single person will care or remember. He tried to keep looking, but the room felt bigger and bigger every second, like it was going to swallow him. That everything inside it felt incomprehensible and impenetrable. His whole life felt like something he wished he could forget. His failures, his unfinished work, they all felt like 1,000 pounds manifesting themselves on his chest. He stared at the room, in every single object, saw the terribleness of a cold, uncaring world that would burn or fade or rot. The room reminded him how he didn't deserve to be here, or anywhere. He was worthless. He lost control of his breathing, and the world felt like a stage he wasn't even on. His heart raced, face contorted into pain, gasping sobs. He couldn't make words. He struggled to stay standing or to catch his breath. Ollie, I'm coming back in. Harold moved close, wanting desperately to make it stop and put his arms around his shaking friend, even though his arms ached to hold him, hoping that protective feeling would reach him, but he waited for permission. Faraday's voice was just a series of gasping sounds, but in between them he mangled, straying at a word. Oh. Okay. Harry pulled him into a hug and Faraday burst into tears. He moaned and tried to catch his breath between wordless, pained utterances. I'm sorry. I'm right here, Holly. Harry's arms were tight around him, the pressure familiar. Holly wanted to sink deeper into the grip, to fall back through the years to when his embrace had been his on a whim. Even now, Holly could feel an awkward curl in Harry's fingertips, and once so comfortable with his body, he didn't quite know what to do. What did you find out? Faraday choked back a bitter laugh. Right back to work, huh? Sorry, this isn't exactly a thing I do regularly. Right. Hopefully it was something important. You're really awful comforting, you know? Sorry. No. Let's just stay here for a minute. That's enough. He is very bad at comforting. He almost felt Harry pulled away, the sudden fierce affection, his arms wrapped tighter. It was a lot he wanted to say, but he bit back every single one of those words. After a couple of minutes, Holly found it easier to breathe, and they got back to work. The murder took place here. That burn mark, that's where she died. It wasn't in the boiler room, and whoever did it also burned up the entire final draft of her play. I'll get that written down. Notes. Notes? Is this notes? No. To-do list. No. Recently murdered. Where'd you write that down, bro? So, Faraday grit his teeth and then managed a cocky grin. Where to next? You said everything we need to say to Deleuze, so let's head back to the hall. What a touching moment. Where are the notes? We're finished, but she's amazing. Oh well. I don't want to go there. Who's in the dining room? When they reached the dining room, there was a figure sitting on the windowsill, curled up and still in the moonlight. Oh, I see. The figure was poring over a thick sheaf of papers. What difference that makes. Hello? Oh. The figure scooped up the papers, shoving them under a decorative pillow, which did very little to hide them. Hello. What are you both doing here? We only wanted a moment of your time. Where were you when Belle was murdered? I was in here. I really loved the decorations. Belle put a lot of things from her own house into the story as Duchess Baker's style and taste. I'm trying to absorb inspiration. Didn't Belle say she was the parlor that she liked Duchess's Baker room? If I could speak, I would speak better. Oh, everything you see is part of my method. Let's try someone else. Please stay safe while you investigate. I'll stay here. She left, unspoken, that she would stay in the dining room, where she assumed it was much safer. Let's walk right past her into the next room, where Miss Suspicious is here. Where they entered the kitchen, Vance was there, sitting with a stool and a small notebook. Her hands were fiercely trembling, but she seemed to force herself to write. Gentlemen. Gentlemen? She did not look up until she had finished her sentence. I must ask you to leave. I will not casually chat with Belle's killer. Madame, we're all under suspicion. I still believe that we would have more to gain by working together. I decline. Okay, if you won't answer our questions, I'll just assume you did it. Very well. Ask your questions, and then be gone. Was simple. Where were you when Belle was murdered? Vance stood up from the stool she had been sitting on, hunched over a small notebook with a black fountain pen. I was looking for her up in her office, but she wasn't there, so I started to look around the other parts of the house, and then I finally saw her in the boiler room. In the boiler room. Well, lying. Vance turned away and shook a bit. My composure failed. I admit that I screamed when I saw her. After that, I came in here. I felt safer with the kitchen imps to protect me. Who is Vance? That's not who's saying that. That was Faraday. The imps. They're plenty strong, so don't get any funny ideas. I just need to wait for morning, and this long nightmare will be over. It will? No! What are you talking about? Who would have a motive to do this? All of them. You saw that she'd received that threat. One of the guests is a hitman that barely shows their face. They're clearly hiding something. I feel that alone is more than enough evidence for the police. Though, if you want my opinion, Goose is clearly a red herring. Are you thinking that Goose is a ruse? Yes, a ruse Goose. Because they are not the only killer here tonight. She shot Harold a particularly venomous look. Feeling guilty? You should be. Everything went wrong as soon as you tried to start to summon that ghost. Hey, I know you're upset, but Harry didn't do anything wrong. He clearly did. You saw it yourself. The lights went out, and then she was robbed and murdered. I have heard the heroes about you, Louis Gale. Everyone had been tiptoeing around the subject, but I really don't understand. How is a man with a demon allowed to roam freely, the same as any good, respectable citizen? I keep to myself, and you know, the rumors of what my demon did, have been incredibly embellished in their retelling. I suppose you must have used the last of your good connections, and I'll trust the word of my associates, thank you, and not the word of a wash-up like you. I'm sorry. Harry, quit apologizing for waves you didn't make. Why would someone burn the script to the play? What a horrible thing to do. I'm assuming you stumbled upon the murder scene and moved her body so that she didn't... I don't know, some kind of respect thing? And then you burned the play because you don't like it. What a horrible thing to do. I had no idea it was burned. She had been working on it tirelessly. Well, it's almost completely gone. I doubt anyone can use it. I'm sorry. At least her legacy can continue, even if all her notes are gone, and I have to go back to the originally published version. I'll make sure that the show goes on. After all, the creative voice behind the Constance Little Bear mysteries has not entirely disappeared. As her editor, I can continue the stories for her. I came here to start making notes right away. It felt like the only way I could respect what she's leaving behind. We'll let you get back to it, then. That's very suspicious. Like, incredibly. She's clearly lying, and I know what she's lying about. I don't want to go there last, so I guess we're going there right now. Though the door was open, the bathroom was occupied by a large occupant. What are you doing in here? It's a tight fit, all three of them standing inside. Hey, are you alright? Yeah, it's nothing. So, you trying to figure out what happened? No, it's... So, were you trying to figure out what happened? Yes, as a matter of fact. Where were you when Belle was murdered? I was in here. The whole time? Yes. Goose's hat slipped even further over their eyes. They looked clammy. I feel sick. That does seem to be believable. What did you steal from the curio case? I didn't steal anything. Deluche says she heard you do it. She's wrong. It's, really cramped in here. Please leave. But this is where all the annoying people are. Oh, no. Alright, let's go over everything. Suspicious woman. Alright, let's see. You, not suspicious. You, not suspicious. You, dead. You, I mean, he was clammy, so he was probably sick. Maybe what he was stolen was his guts, and he saw the murder, or something, I guess. Deluce? Well, she couldn't have burnt those things. And, who did burn it? I wonder. She couldn't have burned it, and she couldn't have moved her all the way down. It's probably not her. Her? I mean, if she's a method actress, I guess that could be played up. Him? I mean, it's probably his fire that killed her, but I need to know how. Her? Incredibly suspicious, but not the murderer. Him? Probably has something to do with it, but he might just be being controlled by his own imp. So, they found Lieutenant Nowak in an armchair, tapping his foot in idle irritation. We have a few questions. Oh, this'll be rich. Where were you when Belle was murdered? I don't have to cooperate with you. You're both, frankly, beneath me. The hell am I going to get out of answering questions for you? The warm, fuzzy feeling of human decency for solving an innocent person's murder? Pass. Now get lost, both of you. Eyes opened once more on Nowak's chest, and at the sound of his order, Faraday's legs gave another unwieldy twist. With shuddering, contorted steps, he and Harold stumbled out the door. Harold was on the ground in a heap. How unpleasant. But as we both know where we are, it seems that his imp doesn't force us to take his words literally. So if that's how it works, I don't care how it works. I'm gonna kick his teeth in. We cannot kick any teeth anywhere until we learn how his imp works. And more importantly, the investigation goes nowhere until we question him. Fine. Let me think. Let me read that again, actually. Okay. Now get lost, he said. But that's not what happened, I see. Eyes tend to be the foundation of authoritarian imp. Is that what I said? Good. People conscious of the control others exhibit through the social gaze. Yes, people's imps manifest eyes to watch and judge them. But Noah doesn't seem to care at all what anyone thinks of him. Maybe it's repressed fear? You're projecting that, I think. Smartass. But seriously, if he were scared of how others perceived him, he'd keep his imp hidden. But he wears it like a literal badge of honor. Faraday, you're a genius. Well, it's been a long time since you called me that. I've seen an imp like his before. It's very common among police officers. When one is intimidated by the officer using it, they are compelled to follow the officer's orders. So all we have to do is not be scared. Well, I can't help it. I'm trying to stand up to him, but he unnerves me. What are we going to do? Switch cases. We need to turn our thinking around. We've been trying to solve the mystery of Bell and Canterbury's murders, when we could have returned to the mystery of the missing wine cellar. Oh no. Don't worry, Holly. It's not so bad to give up. In fact, the more you do it, the easier it gets. With a little practice, you can give up on everything at all, for days at a time. No, I just had an idea, but you're not going to like it. Then why would you even say it? Your turn. My turn. I took off my glasses to search the study. No. If you were to just unseal your imp temporarily, I think we'd have no problem solved. Oh yes, one problem solved, and an even bigger issue left behind. Not sure I'm thought about this either. But this is for Belle, isn't it? Are you trying to blackmail him? Plus, she might punch that guy's lights out, which I would find super gratifying to watch. Look, you won't be losing social standing with this dude. He already hates your guts. He might even respect you more after she punches him. Extremely unlikely. You can never be sure with guys like that. Be honest with me. Can you handle this? Tonight already sucks. I'll survive. So please, I can vaguely, please. I want to see her. Waves of revulsion ripped through Harold's abdomen as he doubled over. Nausea gripped him and he fought to swallow back all the saliva suddenly filling his mouth. But just as he said, giving up was easier the more practice one got. And in the sheer lack of will, Harold gave up. Stomach lurching, Harold vomited himself inside out, and that was not a metaphor. Soon there was a big mess lying on the ground, but it was not roast turkey and soup. It was a figure, and though she was not human, she had been around too long, and grown from many of Harold's repressed feelings. The public considered imps something they could control. An imp would not talk back. The public would not refer to her as an imp. To them, she was a demon. Indeed, I can see that. Ooh. But the two gentlemen called her Maggie. Maggie hopped to her feet, squealing with glee. Oh, that's what they meant. Holly, yes, from me? I knew it. I knew you would want to see me more eventually. She opened her arms wide, and her eye vein pulsed with joy. Here I am, just for you. Yay. I know you're having a bad night, and I'm going to protect you. Do you know how just badly I've wanted to throw my arms around you? Let me wrap you up. I'll never ever have to let go, and nobody can ever hurt you, not ever again. No thanks. Let's just question no, I can get this over with, okay? Faraday stepped toward the door, but Maggie jumped in front of him, waving a finger. You know what I want from you first. Maggie barred her sharp teeth. Faraday shrunk away from her, but he wasn't fast enough. First, I want to see your notebook. I love looking at it. Hang on, there was already green in here. Cool. She snatched it up from his hands and scribbled in it, giggling to herself. It's been so long since you let me hold it. Harry and I read through all the time when you were gone. There. She handed it back to him. Faraday looked slightly shell-shocked. You're not going to... Oh, were you disappointed? Maybe you thought you'd get a little smooch out of the evening. No, I remember what you told me. Maggie, I don't like it when you hold me tight like that. Maggie, your spit is literally acid. Don't kiss me. We can keep talking about it. We can keep taking it slow, so no worries. PDA is off limits at a murder scene. This is an absolute rule. Unless you really wanted to blow off the investigation. Just get drunk and canoodle in the wine cellar. Very romantic. Maggie, you're always so much. But Harry really looked at it all the time. Of course. Things got so much worse when you left. He kept stuffing more and more of himself in me. Because we're a disgusting, awful person. I tried to be good and let him have me removed. But I just hate being so gross. He really made our body look so much better. And I like using that one instead of this thing. Because I'm disgusting and inconvenient. If I would just go away forever, we could be another person again and people would like us. But even if you left, I always believed you still cared. I thought about you so much more than Harry did, more with each passing day. I looked at your journal every day, and you have to know that, Holly. I would even smell it, just hoping to get some trace of you left in the pages. Ugh. Please, can we question Noack now? Maggie's demeanor was wild and full of pent-up drive. Ooh, you. But Holly's unenthusiastic response evaporated all of her excitement in short order. Fine. Maggie walked over to the door and gave the side of her head a casual smack with the heel of her palm. She muttered to herself, "Not cringy, Harold Edwin Ludikiel. You're cringy." Maggie opened the door to the parlor, and Holly followed her in, giving her a generous amount of space. Noack recoiled as he saw her. It's that thing from the ambassador's ball. He turned to Faraday. Did Ludikiel decide that he hadn't had enough ruin? Or hey, I'm not here to explain myself. I'm not even here to solve that murder. But I heard you're bullying my Holly. Hey? Quit hiding, Ludikiel. Only a Howard hides behind his imp. You're hiding behind your imp. And this is one you really should have kept locked up. An ugly imp is the sign of an ugly soul. This isn't even remotely how it works. Just for the record. Maggie was positively glowing. Holly, you stood up for me. I wasn't standing up for you. I was standing up for Harry. Psh, shame, Tiff. Anyway, she turned back to Noack. You think I'm ugly? That's nothing compared to what your face will look like if you don't start apologizing to my Holly. Now. She's... Oh no. The carpet sizzled just for a moment, but long enough to burn a coal-sized hole in it. Noack tried to employ his imp, the eyes flashing. Get away from me, freak. Faraday took an unwilling step back, but Maggie threw back her head, laughed, striding forward, staring him dead in the eye. You want me to boo and cower? You want me to nod like a good little boy? That part of me is stuffed in the broom cupboard like the silly nerd he is. With her free hand, she dug her knuckles into her temple. And he'll shut up and let me do my job if he doesn't want me to come out later and snap his fountain pen collection in half. She turned his attention back to Noack. Speaking of the increasing odds of snapping things in half, say sorry to Holly. Say he's perfect just the way he is. Maggie, you're taking it too far. It's not even about me. I just want him to... Shh, Holly, we need to hear him. Noack lifted his arm, intending to backhand Maggie, but she caught his blow before it could reach her cheek. Oh, the lad wants to brawl now, does he? Noack tries his best to struggle free from her grip, and he kicked at her. Her grip was as tight as steel. Unfortunately, his boot toes were tipped with steel, too. It dug into her side, and she dropped to her knees. Noack loomed over her. Faraday let out a cry of outrage, but Noack turned his gaze back towards him. Don't move, and shut up. Faraday's feet froze in place, and he ground his teeth together. Noack grabbed Maggie by the hair and lifted her up. She's gonna spit in your face, are you stupid? Well, I suppose the case is closed now, isn't it? Ludikiel's demon ran amok and started killing people. Luckily for all involved, Lieutenant Nowak was there to put it down. Maggie's scalp was in a fair amount of pain, but both her hands were free. She took aim, pulled back a curled fist, and punched Nowak in the shoulder. Maggie did not have steel-tipped fingers, but there was, traditionally, a reason why humans feared demons. When her blow made contact with Nowak's shoulder, something popped. Ooh, he howled in pain, and they both fell to the floor. Nowak lay crumpled, clutching his arm. I bet it's just dislocated. Pop it back in. I'm sure it's immensely painful, but I would rather it, you know? Maggie stood up and brushed herself off, muttering to herself. Yeah, you're right, Harry. It would have been way easier to just apologize in the first place. But not half as fun. You okay, Holly? Faraday's joints loosened, and he nodded. She looked at Nowak. Now you be nice to him and answer his questions. If you're nice, I'll pop that shoulder back to the socket for you. Fine. Maggie lined up her hands along Nowak's shoulder and muttered. I mean, we spent more time studying demon anatomy than human anatomy, but it's all the same, right? What? She popped bone back into the socket. Nowak did his very best not to cry. Maggie gave him a friendly clap on the shoulder. The injured one. Oh yeah, almost forgot. So, I stood up to you. Does that mean I have earned your begrudging but earnestly felt respect? Nowak looked up to her, and without letting go of his injured shoulder, used his hand to make a rather obscene gesture. Yeah, it was a long shot anyway. Nowak muttered, and he pulled himself back to his feet. She turned on Faraday with an excited grin. How about you? You respect me now more. Right, Holly? Yes. I'm so happy. I'll beat up whoever you want me to, okay? You just call my name and I'll come running. Be back in a moment to question you, Nowak. Maggie practically skipped out of the room, aglow with excitement. Holly, you took me out a nice dinner, and I even got to protect your honor. Faraday followed her out, exasperated. He was salty at a guy that might go after us later. Potato, potato. Look, it's not exactly my ideal date, but why quibble? It's nice to have someone who's willing to be seen with me. She closed her eye and pursed her lips. You can kiss me goodnight. Come on, you're head over heels for me. I know you wanna. She didn't open her eye or change her posture, but she did give an impatient little hop. Sweep me off my feet, you soft, handsome devil. Can't believe I'm reading this out loud. He couldn't look at her. I've told you before, I have feelings for someone else. But that's not, she muttered to herself. I'm just as much Harold as Harold is. Maggie frowned, wilting. It changed to something more comfortable, shall I? She started to walk away. Hey, Maggie, Don't worry, cutie. I'm just heading down the hall for a minute. Nobody likes watching someone throw out. It must be terrifying throwing up. Harold walked down the highway. The highway? Where are we? Ugh. It's like anise and resentment. 100 apologies for her behavior. You know, after all this, if you want to talk, she's a bit much for me, but you, as I've said before, just ignore anything she says. It's not a good idea to dwell on it. Put his hand to his temple and rubbed at it, muttered something to himself before turning his attention back to the doorway. Shall we? And without waiting for Faraday to respond, Harold walked back into the room. Faraday ground his teeth, stubborn, and then followed Harold. Quick save. In fact, save again. Save so many times. They returned to the parlor, feeling much more optimistic about their chances at getting some answers. So, where were you? Now I think you're ready to tell us. Where were you when Belle was murdered? I was with Dia in the hallway. She said she heard someone moving her upstairs. Didn't she tell you that? No, she didn't. No, I could get a deep, fatigued sigh. She's trying to frame me. Very expirational. To have a marriage where your wife wants to get you framed for murder. Did you see anything sus? No, I saw Clarice run past us to get up the stairs. See, I knew she did something. Seems suspicious to me that she'd be in such a hurry. Deleuze claims you had a reason to kill Belle. She says you were trying to sabotage her. Having a motive doesn't mean I did it. You're not denying it? Doesn't make us get her to come back. Oh wait, no, hang on. Did he just threaten to... No, I grabbed his shoulder. Ugh. Look, if Dia says I wasn't with her, then that means she has no alibi either. And if she has a history with murder, I don't want to get her into any trouble. I say she was with me. It's on her for saying I wasn't. And hey, if Dia gets the rap for this, maybe she'll need me to speak at the trial. Wait, you know what? I take back what I said. I was completely alone. Let her come crawling back. I suppose a judge could strike testimony from the record. This isn't a court case. You're just two talking guys. Two guys who know what you and Deleuze have an alibi. You're no fun. Yeah, I think we're done here. Let's see. Notes. Or not, where that is. To-do list. Well, we couldn't... I guess Clarice. Clarice? Did you come back to look at the flowers? It really is comforting in here. What were you doing on the stairs? Because See, our theory hasn't changed at all. I have literally gotten nothing. Except for the fact that literally everybody was around the murder scene. The stairs? Yeah, Merrick saw you running on the stairs. Is he sure? Well, I'm sure that death is going to put your stage show even more in the spotlight. Did you really want to travel up, get that famous that badly? Of course not. And at that moment, Clarice could no longer hold back and burst into tears. Could be fake tears, I mean, really. I'm sorry. I didn't think anyone would even know. Clarice cried into her hands. I was on the stairs because I took the manuscript from the first story out of Belle's office. She probably had it out to write the play adaptation. I really just wanted to see it, honestly. Thought I could just run down here and look at it without anyone seeing me. And then run back up and put it back. Belle's door office was open. I snuck in there after an imp left. I thought it was a cleaning imp, but the place was a mess. Then I heard a scream and I shut the door behind me. Hid the manuscript and went out to find what happened. Okay, so Dia and Mr. Fay, where is he? Mr. Fay went into her office and burned something. Why? She came in after them? No, she came in before. And then when she went right back, as the key imp was leaving. I was going to put it back. It's been right here, safe and sound. Would you do that? It sounds stupid and embarrassing, but I'm just a big fan of anyone who completely overstepped my boundaries. Pretend I said that right. I'm so ashamed. Clarice's eyes welled up again. She sniffed loudly. And, okay. Now I can't even apologize for Miss Bell to her. Where is it now? It's on the windowsill right over there. Clarice retrieved a stack of papers, still wiping away tears with her free hand. I really was in here after that, I promise. I understand if you don't believe me after what I did, but I really hope you find out who did this. Miss Bell was such an amazing writer and a kind person. Clarice looked at her feet and held the stack of paper out to Faraday. You should take this. I'm sick just thinking about it. If you can summon Miss Bell's ghost, then please tell her I'm sorry. I'll do that. Harold and Faraday left the room, feeling, not for the first time that night, deeply awkward. She seemed genuinely upset. I want to believe her. But she's an actor. This could be a common trope in murder mysteries. I want to believe that no one killed Belle, but we do have to be skeptical. For example, look at this manuscript. It's the first Constant Little Bear story. And as really neat as it is to be holding it for real, I could swear Belle said she wrote in blue ink. This is black ink. People lie all the time, and for the weirdest reasons. Sometimes it's just really hard to tell what to believe. Indeed, it seems like everyone here has something they're hiding. But so do I. I can't judge. Okay. So it could be Miss Butler woman. Girl. Woman. Well, no. Maybe she's the real writer. I don't know. Anyway, he's still in here. Goose, come back. Oh, I keep forgetting to close the door. I'm here to speak to you. Well, let's get this over with. Indeed. It's really cramped in here. Please leave. And Mitty took the tooth, so if we head to the park and stay out. Yet, where is he? Come bother me again, I see. Oh, when they returned to the office, this prick was there. What are you doing here? Snooping. You shouldn't... He gave up. May we ask you a few questions? By all means. At least he's not with someone else. Where were you when Belle was murdered? I was checking on Goose. They're usually real tough, so I was surprised they were sick. So you've met them before this? Guess the cat is out of the bag on that. Such an adorable detective, aren't you? He leaned a bit closer to Faraday with a wink. Faraday blushed and stammered, yeah, so you know them? Why pretend not to? I'd rather come clean. I don't want to deal with getting a murder pinned on me. I'm a thief, not a murderer. I'm guessing here, but I feel like everyone we talk to is going to say they're not murderers. But at least one of them is a liar. Ask Goose, then. They'll back me up. Say I told you it was okay. How'd you find out about this party? We've been planning this for a while. We got the floor plans, got it to run the Goose. Whenever she decided to let them in, it would have all been the chance we needed. Why come steal something when you can't get out? That would have been exciting to deal with. But it wasn't something I planned for. This party just happened to be when she was inviting them. And I found a way to sneak myself in under the circumstances. I didn't know you would seal the place, though. There's no way getting out of here until morning. That was a bit of a hitch, I'm sure, but I could have worked something else out. A challenge. It would have been fun. Did you like my trick with the lights? You really scared poor Clarice. No one got hurt. No one was supposed to get hurt, at least. I really don't know what went wrong. Okay, so it was Goose who ran. Now, we have... What if it's a dual perpetrator? It was Vance and Clarice. Vance knows secret passageways, I'm gonna say. And she was able to cart her all the way to the boiler room. Clarice might have killed her. I don't know what her motive is. It's not a very good motive, what I have. Dia, well, if she was with Vance... I wonder why. Did you see anything sus? I really didn't. I wasn't paying attention to anything but the prize. The prize being, I just love demon sharks. Hate to break it to you, but there's no such thing as demon sharks. Don't tell them, Goose. You'd break their heart. Goodbye, Lupine. Oh, I thought we could paw through Belle's notes and fill up on some fun stories. Come back if you change your mind. Bye for now, cuties. Okay. That was the wrong place. Leave me alone. Go away. We're here in the Bath, Manchester. Oh. Well. Lupine says you can tell us the truth. Okay. If he says it's okay. Lupine and I are partners. We work together to steal imps that belong to other people and give them back to their owners. Oh, I did steal this. Goose reached under her hat and pulled out the sharp-pointed object. The tooth. Probably has nothing to do with anything. You seem like you're smart enough to know this isn't a demon shark tooth. Yeah, but we didn't know what it actually was. It's someone's imp, and they deserve it back. Maybe it's better if I take it and seal it up. No way. Goose pulled it away and put it back into their hat. You don't have the right to deprive someone of their part of themselves. Maybe they got rid of it for a reason. No matter the reason, living with only part of yourself will always feel empty. It's, really cramped in here. Please leave. Okay, so it wasn't Goose. It wasn't Lupin. Possibly. Well, no, that's impossible. Lupin did something with fire. Those two were probably, somewhere. Together. Vance and Clarice are the main suspects. After everything we saw and heard, I'm pretty sure I know who killed Canterbury and Bell. Me too. Do you want to check your notes before making an accusation? It's either Vance or Clarice. Definitely not him. Definitely not him. Definitely not her. Definitely not him. Definitely not her. Possibly her. Because she was literally up there, and everything in there was burnt. Could be Lupin, honestly. Where did he come from? How did he get back in there? Was he hiding in there the whole time? Probably her. Honestly. It's not him. Okay. Her? Or him. I don't have enough evidence on him. Or her. It's probably her, honestly. But I'd like it if it were her. Well, she was saying that the key imp came out, which is her. Her and him did go off together, I think. Unless that was before then. I really don't remember. I watched the video once. He likes stories. He wouldn't want to burn those things. Maybe they accidentally killed her? Well, it looks like Clarice missed the murder, if what she's saying is correct. Where was he? He's the one with the fire. And he can flick the lights off. In his office, honestly, that's the murder scene. How did they get down there? It was Vance. Vance is the only one who could have transported the body. Well, she was with, asshole. She transported the body. He probably burned her. She, I guess, missed it. I don't trust that, but okay. Because now would be a good time to do that. If I'm not checking them now, then I assure you, I don't need to do it at all. The culprit is... It's neither of them. Let's see. I'm gonna say you, but you had to have killed her. And plus, you're already writing new stories. He doesn't seem like he'd want to. But if he was good friends with Canterbury, and they both burned, could be him, could have been him, could have been him, could have been him. She could have been an accomplice. But I have no proof for him at all, literally. He can use fire. She was killed by fire. But they could... Everything in there was burned. Nobody else has fire. Faraday and Harold managed to get everyone in together in the parlor. I'm probably wrong, honestly. The only choice is lupine flowers. Hurtful. You're pinning on me just because I'm an enigmatic stranger. One who wasn't invited. And perhaps I do have the ability to do or two a thing with spontaneous fire. The body was burned in her office, and you were even seen hanging out in there at the scene of the crime. I would never. I'm a gentleman. Maybe a bit of a curious and nosy gentleman, but a gentleman nonetheless. Nothing about that sounds like a gentleman. Neither does stealing from Belle. What? That's definitely gentlemanly. I'm a gentleman thief. I sent a note covering this. Why did no one see my notes? And he even had an accomplice, Goose Downey. Guilty as charged. Not cool, Goosey. Not cool. I'll take that item you stole. Vance held out her hand and took the demon's shark tooth from Goose, who surrendered it willingly. You know, the group managed to get the two thieves tied in the chairs, but when the sun rose and the seal on the mansion broke, both of them managed to slip their bonds and escape before the police were summoned. Bad ending. The demon shark tooth went missing once again. This escape was very much to the dismay of a zealous man in the trench coat who showed up just as quickly as the police force. Both culprits were wanted, and these crimes were added to the many they were already accused of. Dr. Harold Ludikiel was never paid for the evening's proceedings, and Holly Faraday never quite managed to shake the feeling that they had made a dreadful error in judgment that day. Yes, okay. It's probably her, really. But she was in there. And she kills him. But she was with him. But then why was she in there? Let's see. They said they had an imp leaving. And it was locked. I'm really bad at this. Okay, so if it's not him, which I really had no evidence of, so that was stupid. Is it her? Probably not. But let's see, Black Pen, she could have recreated them to snow. You have the most evidence against you anyways. It was pretty obviously. Harold put a finger to his lips and then whispered, "Shh, wait a moment." He leaned in quietly and continued, "I'm certain that we're on the same page, but let us proceed with caution. We cannot tell her where exactly the rented imps may be. We cannot allow them to suspect that we think it is..." Holly nodded and stated loudly, "Since all of you said it wasn't you, then you must have been a suicide. No murders in either case. Mystery solved as far as I'm concerned." He tilted his glasses down so that Harold could see his eyes, and gave a big wink. Harold did his best to act annoyed by this, instead of incredibly charmed. They headed toward the kitchen, but instead could hear movement toward the music room. When the two ran around to the music room, they found Vance there as well as Lupine and Goose. "Hold it right there." Lupine gave him a cheeky grin. "We are nosy tonight, aren't we?" Faraday clenched his hands into fists. "Despicable! You were in cahoots with her this entire time. Guess there's no point in hiding it after all." Goose withdrew the demon shark tooth from under their hat and handed it to him. "The great thief has successfully finished another heist." "You said you were a thief, not a murderer." "Murderer?" Lupine's eyes flitted from Faraday to Vance, the tooth in their hands. "I see. Goose, we messed up big time. If I hadn't been so worried about your health, I would have noticed sooner. What's all this racket?" Deleuze quickly followed Noah. By Noah and Myers, Goose motioned toward Vance. "She's..." Faraday lost his patience. "Yes, of course she's the killer." Myers shook her head. "No, that can't be true. Miss Vance and Miss Bell have been friends since Miss Bell wrote her first Constance Little Bear mystery." Harold withdrew a sheet of papers. "My apologies, madam, but not a single thing you said is correct. Because Vance was not Bell's friend, and Bernadette Bell did not write the first Constance Little Bear mystery." What? When Bell gave Miss Myers her autograph, she signed it in blue ink. The same blue ink she said to have claimed to use to write all her stories. But this first draft is written in black ink, with spidery handwriting that differs significantly from the rest of Bell's notes. This spidery handwriting is not, however, only to be found in this first draft, as it can also be found. Faraday snatched the small notebook out of Vance's hand and held it to show onlookers. in Vance's personal notebook. Not a word of this is true. This is just a distraction. He's throwing accusations around in order to confuse you all. None of you can trust such a vile man, nor his associate. Hey, I could have sworn I heard you mention that you were the one who recommended Ludicule to Belle. I mean, Ludicule's not a guy I would invite to a party either. But if I was looking for someone shady to take the blame, plenty of people would assume he did it. She invited me too. She said that Belle had stolen her imp, and that she needed our help getting it back. She was supposed to give Belle our calling card, so that Belle would know we were stopping by. Why did she even need our help? Miss Vance, you could have strolled in and asked for your imp back at any time. Boss, it was a frame-up. Oh. She must have figured if Ludicule didn't take the fall, there would have been 2 more outlaws as backups. Me, I'm never someone's backup. I never play less than center stage. All that matters is that she had plenty of pasties shielding her from suspicion. So cruel. This is mere conjecture, nothing more. How on earth could I have killed Belle? And to go callously established. She gestured to a hole in her neck. I have no imp of my own. That's all? Not true. You vile thing. I'm not lying. I haven't published a book in years. I was forced to sell my imp. You didn't have your imp. You had several rented imps. As you all know, Vance made our dinner tonight, using one of the cooking imps that makes a flame hot enough to char a person alive. One that is, I might add, more than big enough to hold a human body, and soundproof enough to smother a tea kettle screech, let alone the last cries of poor Belle. And she's had control over both of them in the past as well, because she said Belle would rent these imps from the same people often. She used a cooking imp to kill Belle in her office, then, assuming that the imp couldn't pour Belle inside, Vance put Belle's body onto the same cart she used to serve dinner, the one with ivy cloth. She carted Belle's body to the basement, dumped her into the furnace, threw the incriminating cloth in after her, and she screamed, alerting the rest of us. You did it. Admit it. I'm stunned that a man like you was competent enough to put this all together. But by solving this, only means you've doomed everyone here. So fine. What does it matter? I wrote the first Constance Little Bear mystery. It feels so good to say it. I published it under a pseudonym, knowing that the public would never accept it from me. Me, a respectable writer of beloved fairy tales, writing tales of blood. It would sully my reputation. The story did modestly. Many readers enjoyed it, including Bernadette Belle. The little upstart. She was a little nothing writer, who loved my story and confided her esteem, not knowing I was the writer. I told her my secret, and she was so excited, she asked to assist me in continuing the series. I even allowed her a small percentage of the earnings, but as we published more and more, sometimes trading off submissions, it became apparent that the public preferred her stories, so I let her write more and more. But she had the gall to suggest that she deserved more of the profits. She even confided in her nosy little friend, Gareth Canterbury. Canterbury said it was wrong for Belle to write so much for me to get all the profits. As though the series wouldn't exist without me. I, the creator of the series, was falling deeper into obscurity. A certain standard of living was expected of authorities of my esteem. Authorities? I had to sell my imp, my creative drive, to keep up appearances. I haven't been motivated to write a single page since. She thumbed at the hole in her neck. It was smaller than Goose's, and thus easy to mistake for an earring, as I did. Well, it's not easy to mistake for an earring if she is a 3D person. But yes, I had given up all on ever seeing my creativity or glory days ever again. But wouldn't you know, unwittingly, Belle bought my imp. And now, there was going to be a stage adaptation for the first story. My story. But the director and Belle insisted on having Belle rewrite it. That was really the final straw. So I dealt with Canterbury, as he knew our secret. and then I dealt with Belle. And now, I don't need a single thing in this house to survive, and fire has really done me a few favors recently. Why not one more? The oven imp stood in the doorway of the room with no windows. Although there is an elevator, let's go down. This rental imp just became unstable. It lost control and burned the whole mansion down, and tragically, none of you made it out. A shame we couldn't catch that it was unstable when it killed Canterbury. What a shame that I, too, will have to rewrite that script myself now that Belle's gone. But it will tie the whole narrative up neatly, and unhinged in an unfortunate fire, and no one to blame. And the public loves a neat and tidy story. Guess we're dead. Lupine whistled in admiration. Lady, that was a wild story, sure. But you're forgetting one thing. We're not just going to stand around and let you kill us. Goosey, get her. Goose drew a gun from their side and held it advance. You seem to be forgetting about the second imp, which is just as dangerous. Shing. The razor threw, dropping the gun and clutching the wound. And now... Vance laughed and held her own imp aloft. First, I shall reclaim my creative drive. Then I will claim your lives. And then I will reclaim my career. Harold, Mr. Military Man. Stop her! It wasn't measly self-obsessed fear of social discomfort this time, but a sudden terror for the safety of every person he'd locked inside the house. Wait. When we entered the house, Belle mentioned she hadn't been feeling well. And when Goose stole the imp, Belle was full of energy, while Goose was suddenly stricken ill. That imp is dangerously full of spite and envy, and that must have made Belle and Goose sick. If you return to yourself right now, you might not be able to withstand. Vance laughed. Don't be absurd. I have it back where it belongs, and not you nor anyone else will be able to take it from me. Once I have my creative drive back, I will be returned to the height of my writing ability. How could I, the greatest author of the modern era, be envious of everyone else? And with that, Vance lined up the spin text and drove it straight into her neck. What a terrible idea. Ooh, I forgot how this used to feel. I tried to warn you. Imps are complicated, and yours is filled with so much envy it could poison anyone. But this should be all I needed, to have the same creative drive Belle had. Vance moaned, trying to focus enough to direct rental imps to her defense. She probably had no idea this thing was even yours. The cabinet was mostly just fake junk. And she probably would have gotten rid of it if she knew what it was making her so sick lately. I can't speak, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Dia, help me tie her up. What, you just assume I have ropes on me? I mean, I do. But that's a rude thing to just assume. An hour later, the sun began to rise over Belle's mansion. Lupine and Goose were the first to make a swift exit out of the windows, so much a farewell. The other gifts, what if you can call heading home after harassment for answers by belligerent police conventional. The police cuffed Vance and agreed to bring her in, pending a more thorough check of all the facts. As she was led past Harold and Faraday, she chuckled. You think this was a loss for me? But even if they take me in for a while, I still come out on top, without Belle's notes. Who do you think they'll be turning to write that script? Who are they going to consult about the direction of the series? Who will write the next story? Soon everyone will know that I wrote the first story. Full creative control. It's my series now. The pair watched her go, her gleeful laugh fading away as she was taken out the door. That sounds about right for the level of justice in this city. Disgusting. If the chain does publish the next story, I'm sure Azal's not going to read it. While Harold gathered up his things, Faraday slumped over on the couch. Hey, next time you go into a party, remind me that I hate them. How about I remind you of this? Nobody invited you in the first place. Cold. Faraday rolled over. You're standing up. Do you at least have a solicitor? Some kind of lawyer? There's got to be something else we can do, so that Vance doesn't get her way. Oh, sure. I'll just hire a lawyer to help Belle's memory. A little money she can pay with for this evening. Faraday pressed his face into the cushions. We could pull a Lupine and help ourselves to payment. Harold sighed. We could probably get away with it, but it just wouldn't feel right even. What? Ah! Harold dropped his bag and clutched at his arm, hanging off his sleeve. It was Bernadette Belle's imp. You little rascal. When I finish reading that script, I'm going to seal you away. Wait, what? Harold opened his bag and dangled the little thing above it. Nothing. It's simply Belle's imp again. Got to me with those accursed jabs. No, before you did that. Before that, you said Belle's script? Yes, it's trying to get me to... Harold stopped and the imp hopped up onto his arm. It gave a questioning look. Oh, I think I understand. Belle's imp was made for her desire to keep working. Belle was so obsessed with finishing her script when she died. Without Belle around, it seems a need to compel someone else to complete the job. The imp hopped a little, seeming to reach for his hand. Harold lifted a finger and without a second thought... died. He pressed his fingertip down against one of the sharp needles. Harold was halfway out the door before Faraday could hop to his feet and follow. The imp led them upstairs to Belle's office. Moving his sore hand along the side of the desk, Harry felt around and found a secret compartment. It slid open with little resistance. They pulled out a large document, all handwritten in blue ink. Faraday gripped Harold's shoulder. She must have suspected something. Does it look like it's usable? Faraday flipped through carefully. He was quiet for a time, taking it in. Ollie? This rewrite fixes all Vance's mistakes in the first story. I'm sure people are going to like it. Vance is probably going to scream her head off when she finds out. Serves her right. I can't believe something good finally happened tonight. We can give this to Myers and the director and everything will... I'm reading. 3 months later, he's finished reading. In Harold's stray, imp-infested home. Ah, that's what they were sealing there. Harold and Faraday were dressed in their best yet again. Faraday looked down at the 2 tickets in his hand. All that stress and hard work, and she didn't even bother to send us free tickets. At least we managed to get enough money for them. You'd think I can handle this. It's the premiere, so there are going to be a lot of notable people there. For one night, I promise to ignore them all. Faraday wasn't sure that Harold could keep up to that promise, but he appreciated the effort. You know, I heard an imp lost control in the theater last month. It'd be just our luck to run to that imp on our one night out. You know, my vision must be dying, honestly. I'm going back to bed. Harold turned around and plodded away. Like the hell you are. Get back here. I'm letting my legs go limp. I'll drag you there if I have to, you lousy bastard. I earned this damn date. True end. Amazing. Thanks. Sorry that I can't read. Let's see. Very good, very good, very good. Now, of course, nothing needs a sequel. But that's a pretty good world you've started there. Maybe you could write something else about it. Nice.